Attention passionate Montreal, Canadiens fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the Atlantic Division and it could shake up the entire conference. We're talking about a direct impact on Montreal Canadiens' path to another Stanley Cup run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Montreal Canadiens fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Montreal, Canadiens fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. You won't believe the kind of buzz that's been circulating lately around the Montreal Canadiens, especially when it comes to potential blockbuster moves that could redefine the team's future. Everyone's talking about the possibility, the very real chance, that Sidney Crosby, yes, the legendary captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins, might be traded to the Canadiens. And I know what you're thinking, is that even possible? Well, the insiders are saying that, according to Elliotte Friedman from Sportsnet, it's not just a wild rumor anymore, it's a real scenario that could happen, but only if Crosby himself is on board. That's right, folks. This isn't about some vague speculation. It all hinges on Crosby's own wishes, his desire to continue competing at the highest level, and if he asks for a trade, Montreal might be on his short list of teams to consider. Now, let's take a step back and analyze why this kind of move, if it were to happen, would be such a game-changer for the Canadiens. First, Sidney Crosby, at 38 years old, is still playing at an elite level. He signed a 2-year extension in September 2024, worth $17.4 million, and what's really interesting is that he has a full no-move clause. That means Crosby has the final say in his future, and he can decide whether he's ready for a new chapter or not. So, the fact that he's even considering a move is already pretty remarkable because, for most of his career, he's been synonymous with Pittsburgh. But now, with his contract and his experience, the possibility of him changing teams is no longer just a pipe dream. And Friedman pointed out something crucial during a recent episode of the La Poche Bleu podcast. He said, and I quote, "I know the Montreal speculation has exploded. I don't think it's impossible. I do think if he agreed to be traded, I think Montreal would be on a very short list of teams he'd be willing to consider." That's a pretty significant statement, especially coming from someone like Friedman, who has his finger on the pulse of the league. It's not just idle talk. It's rooted in the reality of Crosby's current situation and the strategic needs of the Penguins. Now, why would the Penguins consider such a move? Well, there are a few reasons. First, they're going through a bit of a generational transition. Sidney Crosby has been the face of that franchise for over a decade, leading them to 3 Stanley Cup championships. But as he gets older, and with some of the younger players emerging, guys like Kasperi Kapanen, who's been trying to find his footing, or other prospects in their system, the Penguins might see this as an opportunity to rebuild more efficiently. Plus, there's the cap space factor. Crosby's contract, while historically significant, is also quite large. Moving him could free up cap room for Pittsburgh to sign younger talent or make other strategic moves to stay competitive in the future. And let's not forget Crosby's own ambitions. Recently, his agent, Pat Brisson, told The Athletic that Crosby's primary goal is to win another Stanley Cup. That's been a consistent theme throughout his career. Since their last championship in 2017, the Penguins have been in a bit of a dry spell, and Crosby's hunger for another ring is still very much alive. If the right opportunity presents itself, and if Crosby believes the Canadiens are poised to contend, it makes sense he'd consider such a move. The Canadiens, after all, have been building steadily, accumulating young talent like Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Juraj Slavkovsky. Adding Crosby into that mix could be the final piece they need to push them into serious Stanley Cup contention. Imagine the impact Crosby would have on a team like Montreal. First, his presence would instantly elevate their offensive game. He's a natural leader, a guy who commands respect in the locker room, and his experience would be invaluable for prospects like Suzuki and Caulfield. These young players would have the chance to learn from one of the best to ever play the game, and that kind of mentorship can't be measured just in stats. Crosby is known for his incredible hockey IQ, his face-off prowess, and his ability to perform under pressure. Montreal has been seeking a true 1A center for some time now, someone who can shoulder the responsibility and be the team's go-to guy in critical moments. Well, Crosby ticks all those boxes. And think about the strategic implications. With Crosby on the ice, Montreal's power play would get a major boost. His ability to find space and set up teammates like Caulfield or Slavkovsky would create scoring chances at a level the Canadiens haven't seen consistently in recent years. Plus, his face-off skills would help Montreal gain more possession, especially in tight games when every face-off counts. This kind of upgrade isn't just about adding a star. It's about transforming the team into a more competitive, well-rounded contender. It could push Montreal into a different tier altogether, and that's exciting for fans who have been waiting for a real playoff push. Now, I have to mention that this scenario isn't without its complexities. The Canadiens would need to make some moves to clear cap space or restructure their roster to bring Crosby in. It's not as simple as just trading for him. It requires planning, negotiations, and a mutual desire from all sides. But the potential rewards are enormous. For Crosby, the chance to join a team with a promising core, a passionate fanbase, and the possibility of contending again might be enough to consider making such a bold change. For Montreal, getting Crosby would be like striking gold, a veteran leader who can help accelerate the team's championship window. And let's be honest, the excitement around a Crosby to Montreal trade would ripple across the league. It would be one of the biggest stories of the offseason, a true shakeup in the NHL landscape. Fans would be buzzing, analysts would be dissecting every detail, and the Canadiens' roster would suddenly look a lot more formidable. Imagine the marketing, the boost in ticket sales, the renewed hope that Montreal might finally break through and return to Stanley Cup glory. That's the kind of impact a player of Crosby's caliber can have, not just on the ice, but off the ice as well. Of course, all of this depends on Crosby himself. If he's content in Pittsburgh and feels he has unfinished business there, or if he simply prefers to stay loyal to the Penguins, then this scenario might never materialize. But if he's open to new opportunities, especially with a team that's on the rise like Montreal, then we could be witnessing one of the most intriguing trade stories in recent NHL history. It's a storyline that keeps fans on the edge of their seats, wondering if this could become a reality in the upcoming months. So what do you guys think? Is this just some speculative chatter, or could we really see Sidney Crosby donning the Canadiens' colors? Personally, I believe the league's landscape is shifting, and with the right circumstances, anything is possible. The Canadiens are building something special, and adding a player like Crosby could be the final piece that takes them from a promising young team to a genuine Stanley Cup contender. But again, it all hinges on Crosby's own decision, his wishes, and how the Penguins approach their future. And now, Montreal Canadiens fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you think Crosby would be a perfect fit for Montreal? Would you trade some prospects or draft picks to bring him here? Or do you believe the team should focus on developing their young core and building organically? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Montreal Canadiens. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Montreal Canadiens news. This is just the beginning of what could be a very exciting chapter for the Canadiens, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's go Canadiens!